capability is in, and the sporty interpretation at Audi now looks like this. Audi's family of electrically powered cars has grown. This is actually an old familiar model, the e-tron Sportback, but this car has the S suffix, which means sport. It is a really sporty car. This is already evident at the front. The air intakes have been redesigned. These were already available as accessories for the e-tron Sportback. Here, it's absolutely standard. What is striking, the car has become really wide on the front axle. The width has increased by around 5 centimeters, and the nice thing is that there are wing flares. On the one hand, they make it look better, and on the other hand, there is this air intake. This air intake ensures that you have a considerably better CW word value. A word about performance. There are not only 2, but 3 engines. One is on the front axle and 2 are on the rear axle. There is a maximum system output of 370 kilowatts, around 503 horsepower, which means that the car reaches 100 kilometers in just 4.5 seconds. At 210 kilometers, the electric shut-off is activated. That's right, because otherwise the range would be dramatically reduced if you always drove at full throttle. Enough said. Now I'm going to give this sports machine a bit of gas or electricity. This sporty statement from Audi weighs around 2.6 tons. In this class, it is nevertheless light on its feet. To ensure that you get the 503 horsepower on the road when boosting, well, that's possible for 8 seconds, there are 20-inch wheels. They come as standard. And a planetary gearbox with a fixed ratio, which means that from 0 to 210 you can really get down to business. Audi uses these cameras to monitor overtaken vehicles, but they take some getting used to. So here in the interior everything is very luxurious. Now there are the best materials. Perfect workmanship. But you know that from Audi. Here in front of me is the virtual speedometer, the virtual cockpit, there is the speed indicator. Then there is a display for the range, and I also have a display for recuperation, and I can see whether I am currently using a lot of electricity. On the right side, there are 2 large displays. One can also be operated by touch, for example the navigation system. Down there, also operated by touch, is the system for the heating and ventilation. The only analog switch here is the rotary knob for the radio volume. Even if it looks complicated, everything can be learned and operated quickly. When the electric motors are really put to the test, there is plenty of temperature. When boosting, for 8 seconds, you also need a certain amount of cooling. This car or this system has that, so boosting is really possible a few times. Other electrically powered cars don't offer that in this form. It is 4 meters 90 long, that means plenty of space inside. The Sportback version of the e-tron certainly delivers on that promise. The interior design is the same as in the Sportback, with multimedia and infotainment systems on board. The luggage compartment is huge. 615 to 1,655 liters are possible by folding the rear seats. Who is the e-tron S Sport customer?
Of course, the e-tron S is primarily aimed at customers who want to drive very dynamically. In other words, the focus here is not so much on long-distance capability, but rather on what you can experience with the vehicle in terms of lateral dynamics. That simply brings driving pleasure. Of course, there are people who want to take the car to the racetrack, and here the Audi e-tron, with its concept, the 3 electric motors, the almost 1,000 Nm of torque and 370 kilowatt of power, is exactly the right package.
I can say about the handling. The car is a bit rear-biased. If you're driving very sportily, the electronics notice this and lower the car by up to 26 mm. This lowers the center of gravity. That's important, because these large SUVs or crossovers are naturally a bit top-heavy. Here you have another advantage. The battery, which weighs several hundred kilos, is installed low down. This lowers the center of gravity and the car doesn't roll as much on fast bends. That is very positive. And it also gives a good feeling, a good feedback. The air suspension is also very comfortable. The very precise steering is helpful when driving. As I said before, this battery is installed very low. It has a capacity of 95 kilowatt-hours. That is actually quite a lot. The range is given as 365 kilometers. But that could be tight, because if you always accelerate or drive fast, you won't be able to achieve that range. My test drive with this Audi e-tron S Sportback is over. I have to say, it's a stunning electrically powered SUV or crossover. The basic version of the car costs €96,000. That's not exactly low, but for that you get a car of the extra class. That's it from me, and it gets a thumbs up. There is one thing that an electric car like this certainly brings: a lot of driving pleasure.